So my daughter is a graphic artist, and she's dabbling with animation with me. So we're trying to do a couple of little mummy daughter animations, and she's really gets really upset with what she doesn't see in the lack of brown skinned folk in like Disney movies or whatnot. And I said, listen, I understand that's all day long, but what I want you to understand is that means that you're supposed to do it, right? The white Disney animator has not lived what you lived as a 20-year-old black woman, black Nova Scotian woman. So that means that it's your turn to do these animations, right? And so that's what I want, other creators to know. It's not up to them. That's where I bring the onus back on us. It's up to us to create positive stories based on our lived experience, positive or negative. Because and also too to understand it's okay not to write something about slavery, about police, about all these different issues. Those are our real issues, and yes, we live them. But write something sci-fi. Write a horror film.
There's all kinds of different genres that I think that we see, and I think the other part is that there's so many examples of great, but like Black Canadian artists, great.
Yes.
So that's where we got to get a little bit more specific, because I think think about Alice Walker and all of the things that Alice Walker has produced and created. It's like that's a name that we know, but we have all of the people who are creating and making at this level. But like, how do you see that we can break through in some ways? How do we? Like, is it funding? Is it discipline? Is it what are the ingredients do you think that make Black women successful in their work?
Okay. Nowadays, because yes, so juries that actually approve funding need to also look like us. Yes. That's first and foremost. We need our program officers need not to be, sometimes unfortunately, they look through stuff and then it gets filtered before it gets to a jury. I've seen that as well. So that's on the funding, deciding, approving side. And also knowing that no one can stop them. Right. No one can stop you, right? So the funding exists, so it's not just one thing, one-sided. No. The funders need to stop acting up. Yes. and then
do more.
Do more.
Advocacy, or even, a lot of this is what this is about, awareness and having the place and space to talk about it and to really directly name where the changes have to happen. Yes.
And then distribution. So we also need distribution channels. So that just means we need our own. We have to own some things. We don't have to be the only, but we have to own some broadcasting stations. We need to own some streaming services, and we need to own some publishing companies. All the places when you sit there and create, wherever that ends up, that the public can then buy that and purchase that and enjoy that and experience that, we need to be owners at those tables. We need above the line positions like producers. We need the directors. Because you can have representation in your, even if there's a white writer that writes very well, a Black family, great. That's still in front of the camera. We need behind the scenes. We need production managers. We need to be all up in that. Yes.
These are all areas now that I can even understand what you're talking about, because I think a year or two before that, I wouldn't even know what those things were.
Exactly.
So I think there's some kind of interesting thing happening in terms of even, my experience of making a film and being able to kind of go through those hoops. But it was like, oh, now I have this language that I now know what you're talking about.
Not to cut you up.
But you want to go there?
Coming right out of my, you're saying words that we know. We've had this conversation. I'm doing this. You're like, no, that's a producer.
Right. I just learned syncing. I'm like, syncing, is that really scoring? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I ever heard the word syncing.
Right. And so we're talking about the entry point, getting in. Before you asked that question, what is it going to take to stick? Okay, we get in it, but to stick and for it to be sustainable,
I think,
for it to stay, right? And so you're talking about language, we can't stay in the room if we can't even speak the language once we get inside.
Right.
And also the language needs to change a little bit. Can we also let them change the language? Because now it's in terms of distribution, for example. Us knowing our market and what they want and what they, so does the language really even matter other than just cut the check? That's literally the language that I want to be speaking.
Right.
Because it's
even when you're at those tables, I kind of very often let producers and funders know, we deserve to be here. It's again, I'm not giving you a cookie for having me at this table, but I'll give you enough. I'll thank you enough to at least be speaking with me. And if I use a layman's term for something, you don't act like you don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Just because I don't use those big, dictionary words for the film industry that you'd use, it does not matter.
Isn't that where the art lives?
Yes.
Doesn't the art lives in the day experiences and the day-to-day and the grassroots? Like, I think that's where that we have power. I think we have power to tell those stories that no one has heard before.
Right.
And the other thing that I was kind of thinking about